just because he didn't want to carry a pack. Right? So the Puer will never, or Puella, will never deign themselves to be ordinary. I would rather go through heroic growth and be exceptional in this way, but it's not true heroism. It is avoidance of the dreary, avoidance of doing things like other people. Like, I'm not one of the plebs. For fuck's sake, I'm not one of the plebs. Okay? They do not like conventional situations. They ask deep questions and go straight for truth. On the contrary, he lives in a continual sleepy daze. That too is a typical adolescent characteristic. The sleepy, undisciplined, long-legged youth who merely hangs around, his mind wandering indiscriminately, so that sometimes one feels inclined to pour a bucket of cold water over his head. The sleepy daze is only an outer aspect, however, and if you can penetrate it, you will find a lively fantasy life is being cherished within. They have great hopes and great dreams. Okay? And they also evoke a response of like wanting to throttle them. Like, oh, I'm gonna stop fucking sitting around and doing nothing. You have all these dreams in your head. Let me take a bucket of cold water and throw it over your head. This response is not just triggered by external people, it's triggered by your own mind. So you will feel this response to, why can't I just snap out of it, make a commitment, and just get up and grind every day? This is the problem of Puer. Now, Jung spoke of work as the solution, but the kind of work that is dreary, that is drab, right? The Puer is very impatient. So, like, we can get excited about things, but the moment that the excitement disappears, it's like, I can't do it. So Puers can work really hard, they're just not in control of their work. And this is what's so devastating about it, is because we all know, right? We have this like fantasy of like, not fantasy, we have this reality of there was 72 hours where I woke up, I felt great. I was hyped, I was engaged, I wanted the flow state, I got the flow state, I produced something that was truly brilliant. And then day 4 rolled around, day 5 rolled around, and then I didn't feel like doing it. And instead of forcing themselves to continue doing it when they don't feel like, they search endlessly for the way to reignite that spark. I don't want to do the hard work. I want to find the perfect optimization, yogic technique, supplement thing, brain hacking, biohacking, spirituality, wellness, health, whatever, perfect environment, productivity solution, reading 100 productivity books, summarized in a 10-minute YouTube video, so I don't actually have to read the books. If I can, I bottled lightning for 72 hours. I don't want to generate electricity using a treadmill. I want to learn how to consistently bottle lightning. This is the problem of Puer. So today what we're going to do is go deeper. We're going to show y'all what the problem, first of all, what Puer is and what it isn't. Then we're going to go through a series of like things that patterns in the Puer mind. And then hopefully we will understand what it really is. The problem is that you can do nothing about this. You can do nothing about this. No action will fix this. And the reason no action will fix this is because this does not exist at the level of action. This exists at a very deep psychological level. So actions, and this is kind of the problem. I want to show y'all something. Let me find this. Okay. Let me find this. I need to find it. Y'all need to give me a minute, okay? This is like kind of challenging for me. Okay, let's go to page. Okay, no, I found it. I want to show y'all. So I'm going to show y'all. So work won't solve the problem. Work will actually be part of the problem. Okay, so like the cure is work, but Doing work doesn't work, even though it's the cure. That's the problem with puer. Pretty sure I'm a puer eternus, but doing hard work doesn't seem to fix me. Let's see if we can understand why. Let's go back like 150 years to what this lady said and see if a Reddit post from 11 days ago can be answered by a text that's like 100 years old. The puer eternus has to learn to carry on with work he does not like, not only with work where he is carried away by great enthusiasm, which is something that everybody can do. Primitive people who are said to be lazy can do that, for as soon as they are gripped by something they work, even to the point of exhaustion. I would not evaluate that as work, but as being carried away by a festival of work. The work, which is the cure for puer eternus, is where he has to kick himself out of bed on a dreary morning again and again and take up a boring job through sheer willpower, okay? So, but people say, but he's working hard. Yes, but the reason he's working hard is he must have escaped to some other kind of work, or he must have run away from some other kind of work. So this is the problem. Work is the answer, but work will never fix it. Because even when you do work, when you work really hard, you are not doing the hard work. You are running away from the hard work by doing easy work.
This is our destiny.
Got it? So like y'all see that? And you know this, right? You know that you would move mountains to avoid climbing a molehill. We will go through I will develop my own theory of integrated physics that combines Newtonian mechanics with quantum mechanics. I would rather do that than study for Physics 101 and calculate friction of a pulley system. I will be great, and I will be grand, and I will be sacrificial. I will work incredibly hard, but I'm never gonna do that. So when I say work is the answer, it's not the answer. It is the answer, and it's impossible to do. So now the question becomes, okay, how do we do it? Like, what do we do? Okay, so now we have to understand. I didn't go into this because I didn't know this would be important, but whatever. So we have to understand what an archetype is. Okay, so Jung. Okay, this is gonna be hard. So Jung was a psychoanalyst, and he came up with this idea, didn't really come up with it, popularized in the West this idea of something called a collective unconscious. So he's like, we have our regular conscious awareness, we have our subconscious, and then there is this weird collective unconscious which connects us all. Okay? Like there is some fundamental thing which is deep. And this thing is more primordial. It's not like, so at the surface level of your conscious thoughts are very crystallized. They're formed. Even at the subconscious level, there are personality constructs. Things like borderline personality disorder. You can like, it's like a crystallized thing. Do y'all get that? There's trauma, and then if trauma coalesces in the right way, you will have BPD. If it coalesces in a different way, you will have narcissistic personality disorder. And then at the surface level of BPD, we will have even like more crystallized thoughts. This person is going to abandon me no matter what. Okay, so there's the super crystallized, directly observable level of consciousness, which is thoughts. Then there is a less crystallized, but still crystallized, personality architecture, which is not directly observable. So if you look at 5-factor model, like you can't study your thoughts for 5 seconds, 10 minutes, and know what your 5-factor personality is. You can't do that. But if you do a deeper exploration, you can get it out. Does that make sense? And then even deeper than that, which is less crystallized but more primordial, are these archetypes. These are like general things that exist in the subconscious that we all share. So the puer archetype is like the child within us, the part of us that gets excited. Okay? And when it gets excited, It like longs for things, but the child within us also doesn't like hard work. So when the puer attribute, which is deep, and we are all connected by it, right? And like, if you guys want to know what we are all collected by it looks like this. This is what it looks like. This is the archetype. Do y'all get this? Like, we are connected. We all feel it. We're like, this is me. It's a lecture. It's not about you. Do y'all get that? This is a guy on the internet speaking. That's not you. That can't be you. It's words transmitted across fiber optic cables to pixels on a screen. This cannot technically be you, but it is. If you look at Healthy Gamer, what is Healthy Gamer? It's a movement, right? This is why there's all this cult energy, because we're not connected just through words. We're connected like on a deeper level.
Here comes a new challenger.
Y'all get that? Like, I know you. People will walk up to me and they'll say, Dr. K, you have changed my life. How is that possible? I've never fucking met you. Think about it for a second, right? But there is like a connection, which we feel. We are transformed. People will come to me and they'll be, you changed my life. I've transformed you. Wow. That's pretty cool. Right? So this is the key thing about puer. You cannot do anything. You must be transformed. That's the only way it works. This psychology within you must shift. And if it shifts, all of these lack of follow-through things will start to constellate, and you will start to live a life. A full life, a complete life. The reason I know that is because I was a puer that was not constellated. Now I am a puer that is constellated. Okay, so like, just let's be factual for a second. 2.5 GPA, graduated in 5.5 semesters, no money, shitty, rejected from medical school. I'm 26 years old. I got shit. I haven't done anything. I have all these great ideas. Today, married, influencer, author, doctor, Harvard, entrepreneur. What the fuck? Gamer, degenerate. Like, what the fuck? How is this change possible? The change is possible because the puer within me transformed into the healthy version. And then suddenly all of my creative impulses started manifesting in the world. Right? So like, I started fucking doing shit when I got excited. And so I'll give you all like a literal example. I've been at VidCon in LA doing podcasts and stuff like that for the last week. I flew in on Wednesday. On Thursday morning, about 27 hours ago, I got on a call with our content director. Content director says, hey, Dr. K, we're behind on videos. We need you to fill some shit. And I was like, content director, bro, I want to do a stream on Puer and Eternus tomorrow. And he's like, well, we have to do all this other shit. And I was like, I want to do it tomorrow. There's a lot of stuff that the world demands of me. I feel inspired to do something. And so what I did is grind the fuck yesterday, grind the fuck this morning. I'm going to grind the fuck tomorrow. I'm going to grind the fuck on Sunday. I'm going to grind the fuck on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I have a ton of work ahead of me. That is the price I have to pay in order to do what I want, to have my dreams become a reality. Do y'all understand that? I'm not trying to like do this to flex. I'm just telling y'all that if you want to be a constellated puer, you have to pay a price. Now, people will ask me in these like interviews and shit, right? Dr. K, what's your secret to success? What do you think everyone should do? And what I tell them is like the one thing that really shocked me about becoming successful is how many good things I had to walk away from. So I worked really hard, not to do this, but wound up as faculty at Harvard Medical School. It is a coveted thing. And I left to do this. I was well on my way, grinding really hard to achieve some sort of spiritual progress. Walked away. And if you guys go back and y'all have listened to my Circle Jerk answers, y'all will have heard me say this, that like life is a series of walking away from really good things. That is how you live fully. I didn't realize that this is what I was doing at the time, right? But if you want to live life fully, you need to reduce your potential. Then like something weird happens where like the more doors you close, the more you get everything behind them. And it's like weird, but that's true.
Here comes a new challenger. You must
okay?
crush them.
Like, and I'm not saying this to like flex or honestly, I'm just telling y'all this works. And we know, like, there's the other reason we know it works is because when we don't do this, it doesn't work. Because what happens is we don't want to close any doors. We don't want to close off any potential. And since we don't want to close any doors, and since we don't want to close off any potential, we end up like spinning in the waiting room of life. And then doors close on us anyway. And as doors start to close, as opportunities start to close, because we never took the plunge, right? So potential starts to close, and then we feel more panicked, and then it becomes really important to make the right decision. Because now, like, oh my God, I lost this opportunity, I have 3 left. Which one do I pick? Which one do I pick? And so if you're an unconstellated puer, your life is a series of getting bumped around by ping pong balls. Or not ping pong balls. A pinball machine. Imagine you're a pinball machine. You become a pinball in a pinball machine. And you're just getting smacked around. Like you're like, if this thing happens, if this bumper, like if I hit this button, then like, and you just have 2 buttons at the bottom of your pinball. That's all you know how to control. It's like if I can hit, if everything lines up right, I can hit the button at the right time. This is the one thing I can do well. Then I can like get some energy and I can control where I want to go. But there's this like thing in the middle that's like 10,000 points. And as try as you might to hit your 2 buttons, because that's what you've got, right? You've got like porn and you've got video games. And you're like, It's so hard, and you know it's possible if everything lines up right and you use your 2 buttons. Then you can get to the 10,000 points in the middle and you can win. But you don't want to work the hard way. You just keep on using these 2 buttons. Okay? So what we're talking about is an archetype. And an archetype that has to come out in a healthy way. And when the archetype comes out in a healthy way, you will be transformed. Then the actions will flow. Then you will be able to do it. So let's talk a little bit about how to do that. Okay? All right. So, y'all with me so far? Okay. Okay. So, one of our students has evolved the idea that there is something like a defective self. That in certain people whose fate is very unfortunate, the symbol of the self appears defective, which would mean that such people have no chance in life because the nucleus of their psyche is incomplete and defective. So the whole process of individuation cannot develop from this kernel. Y'all have seen this, right? This is like, I am screwed, there's nothing I can do, I'm fundamentally broken. Exists within our community. People have this attitude. I do not agree with this idea because I have never seen such symbols of a defective self without an accompanying defective attitude of the ego. That means that wherever you find such a defective self symbol, where it is ambiguous and incomplete and morbid, there is always at the same time an incomplete and morbid attitude of the ego. And therefore, it cannot be scientifically asserted that the cause of the whole thing lies in a defective self. Okay? So here's what that kind of means. Okay, so I'm going to pause for a second, then I'm going to read more. All right? So some people, so if we look at like the problem of puer, people are like, okay, like I'm a puer, how do I fix that? You don't fix it. A lot of people believe that they're fundamentally broken in life. And there's nothing that can be done to fix it. Because they've tried. But it's not that you are fundamentally broken, it is that the way that you relate, the part of you that shepherds and controls all of these archetypal energies like puer, that is the thing that is busted. There's nothing wrong with puer. Puer is great. It is puer that is inappropriately managed that takes this beautiful force that then becomes destructive. Okay? So this is a great analogy. This is where the lecture becomes like hard. And it's only going to get harder. Okay? So try to follow. And if you don't follow, watch it again. And I'll try my best. But on the other hand, it can just as well be said that if one eats all the wrong things, or does not eat, or eats irregularly, then it is not the stomach which is at fault. This the defective self, always goes with an ego which does not function properly either. If the ego is lazy, inflated, not conscientious, does not perform the duties of the ego complex, then it is clear that the self cannot appear positively either. Okay? So what this kind of means is like, this is talking to this core conflict of like, okay, so if I eat all the wrong things and eat at irregular times, and then I say my stomach is bad, right? My stomach is like a trash stomach. Is it the stomach that's at fault, or is it the irregular eating and the irregular diet that's at fault? The same analogy can be applied to puer. So some of us believe we are fundamentally broken, but are we fundamentally broken? Or are we not fundamentally broken, but the way we are channeling or accessing that energy, that is flawed. Okay? So let's kind of drive that point home a little bit. So if the man were here today, he would certainly object and say, no, it is the other way around. The ego cannot function because the self is defected. I'm fundamentally broken. I'm not making the wrong choices. It's not that I'm choosing to eat the wrong things, like my stomach is effed. Really, bro. Then we are confronted with the age-old philosophical problem of free will. Can I want the right thing? That is the problem which the puer eternus will generally put to you. He will say that he knows that everything goes wrong because he is lazy, but that he cannot want to be lazy. I don't choose laziness, right? Laziness is a feature of me. Everything in my life is going wrong because I'm lazy. But that's not something that I choose. It's the way that I am. And all of those other people out there aren't lazy. That's why they're successful. That is his neurosis. That he is unable to fight his laziness, and therefore it is useless to treat him as a rascal for whom everything would go right if he were not so lazy. Okay? So this language is a little bit weird, but it's like this core problem of like, okay, like other people are good, but I'm fundamentally lazy. That's why I can't do anything in life. This is the core problem of puer. So when the ego structure, so let's talk a little bit more technically now. So we have all these archetypes within us. These are like, you can think about them as like impulses, drives, fundamental drives, like the father, the mother, the caretaker, the protector, the trickster, the wise old person within us, the child. All of these are archetypes. And we have this thing called the ego, which in the Jungian sense, and Freudian sense, psychoanalytic sense, also translates over to the Eastern sense pretty well. If your mind is not able to harness and channel that creative drive, it becomes a problem. Okay? So now, okay. Next, let's take a look at... okay, so let's talk about, for a second, how to fix it. Okay, so this thing is within us. So, but Jung says that there's no sickness in the collective unconscious, and so as the self is an archetype, it does not seem to me that there can be anything defective. So there's nothing wrong with Puer. I think that if it appears defective, it is because of the wrong ego attitude. Objectively, in itself, it cannot be defective, which is why I cannot accept the idea of the defective self. If the ego is able to change, something else changes. If the ego attitude changes, then the symbols of the self become more positive. That is something we can experience again and again. If the person can achieve a certain amount of insight, then the whole unconscious constellation changes. So this is what makes this hard. Succeeding with Puer is not about doing anything. It is about changing our relationship with ourselves. It is an internal change, and it happens at a deep level. At the level where the archetype meets the unconscious. Or maybe where the archetype meets the conscious. This is why you can't do it. This is why, as we'll see, the Puer archetype, until you change this constellation, it will keep hijacking what you do. All of your attempts for improvement will not work. There is a fundamental stuckness that if you transform it, then suddenly all of this creative energy flows forward in a positive way. So now the question becomes, how do we do that? So what I'm going to do now is go through a series of characterizations. So the best strategy that I've got is to show y'all basically like how it works. So I'm going to show you the way that the Puer archetype functions in your mind. And if y'all want to conquer this thing, what you have to do is notice all of these drives. Because it's really tricky. Okay, so like, I don't know if this makes sense. Like, I'm going to show y'all the move set. Imagine you're playing Street Fighter 6 or Tekken or whatever. There's a character called Puer, and you're fighting against this character. I'm going to show y'all the move set that this character uses. It has this kind of throw, this kind of jump kick. It can counterattack in this way, but I can't fight it. You have to step into the ring, and if I show you what's coming, there's a chance that you will, like, be prepared, but then you have to hit the buttons. There's no way to get out of this without hitting the buttons. I can't do it for you, and nothing that I tell you will work. It must be a struggle of your own ego complex with this destructive Puer archetype. Okay? Alright, so we talked about this. Let me pull this up. Let me see if I can find this. Alright. So, the first thing that we're going to talk about is the gesture of impatience. Okay? So then something absolutely classic happens, namely the gesture of impatience. That is typical for Puer Aeternus. When he has to take something seriously, either in the inner or outer world, he makes a few poor attempts and then impatiently gives up. My experience that it does not matter if you analyze a man of this type, whether you force him to take the outer or inner world seriously, that is really unimportant, though perhaps it depends on the type. The important thing is that he should stick something out. That is why such people tell you suddenly that they have another plan, that this is not what they were looking for. They always do it at the moment where things become difficult. It is the everlasting switching, which is the dangerous thing, not what they do. So here's the problem of Puer. Y'all are looking for the right answer. There is no right answer. Anyone who tells you this is the right answer, myself included, will not work. The problem is not in the answer, it is in the way that you relate to the idea that there is an answer. As long as you believe that, you're fucked. Because then what'll happen is the changing from one answer to the other. It doesn't matter which one you pick. Just don't change. That is the real answer. Right? So when I want to do this lecture of Puer Aeternus, I don't get to can the other stuff that I have to do. I don't get to switch. I lop things off. Stick with something.
Elena, win! Round one.
Make a sacrifice. That is what you need to do. And then if you're not careful, the Puer will be like, how do I know which sacrifice to make? It doesn't matter. What you need to learn is the ability to make a sacrifice. Okay? Another thing that we talked about, so the second thing is that this idea that you are defective. You're not defective. The way that you relate, so if you're fundamentally defective, there's nothing you can do. The way that you relate to your undefective self is what makes you defective. You take your perfect self and you transmute it into something that is fundamentally broken. Because as long as it's fundamentally broken, then you've got an excuse. Then you don't have to do the hard work. The key thing about Puer when it is in its destructive form is that it avoids hard work at all costs. So what you'll notice is there's this twisting and turning. Just don't want to work hard. I just don't want to do something bad. And this is the real tragedy of it, is that you don't want to be bored. You don't want to do something bad. You don't want to stick something out. And in avoiding all of that stuff, you end up with like a dead-end job. Or you end up with a career that pays your bills, but isn't fulfilling. You don't ever take the plunge. You don't ever take a chance. You sort of like live in this limbo state where you're getting your needs met. When your distress becomes so high, you're moved to a temporary form of inaction. So it's kind of like you're this volcano that's rumbling beneath the surface, and when some critical point happens, you'll erupt. You'll erupt even every day by slogging your ass to work, doing whatever dead-end shit you need to do that is spiritually bereft, and then you come home and then you're like, I can't do anything, and I'm tired, and I'm exhausted, and you never quit. Right? You never take the plunge. You never leave your job and start your company. You don't leave your boyfriend or girlfriend because things are comfortable and then you have to find, how are you going to pay rent? You can't afford rent, so you might as well stay with this person even though the relationship feels dead inside. And for those of you who are not paying attention, or whose Puer is not paying attention is not right, whose Puer is hyperactive, will say, is Dr. K just saying I should fucking quit my job and break up with my girlfriend? He doesn't understand what my life is like. That's not what I'm saying. If you do anything that I tell you to do in today's lecture, it's not going to work. It's never going to work. Right? And notice what happens when your mind says that. Notice what happens. I'm telling you to take the plunge, ain't going to do it. The way that you're not going to do it is by criticizing me. This guy doesn't understand my life. Oh, fucking A. Puer's thrilled. Oh, shit. That was a close one. There's this guy on the internet that seems really smart that I've been following for years. Oh, man. I really thought he was great, but the moment he told me to take the plunge, fuck, man. That was close. I almost listened to him and did the hard work. People are saying I'm lost, and people are saying, caught me? Yes. That's what's hard about this. This lecture is going to leave half of y'all behind. And I'm sorry. This is the best that I can do. And because I didn't give in to my internal Puer, I said, I'm going to do a shitty job at an important lecture instead of waiting to be able to do it right and perfectly. And it's going to leave half of y'all behind, which is fine. Sorry. And it's not because y'all are dumb. It's because I hope y'all can tell this is not my best. Right? I'm piecing things together. I'm making mistakes in the lecture. This is like hard.